Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Am I audible? A galaxy of intellectuals, greetings. I'm Tanzina Hussain, Associate Professor of Daffodil International University. Today, I will take the privilege of hosting this workshop, which is on the research problem for applied business research. This workshop has been organized to equip the beginner researcher with the problem statement understanding in business research. Dr. Tan Cheng Ling will conduct this session. Dr. Chen Tian Ling,
yes, Madam,
is an associate professor and deputy dean of the Graduate School of Business at University Science Malaysia. She provides lectures on operations and service management. She supervises MBA, DBA, and PhD students in the field of knowledge management, innovations, operations management, supply chain management, and quality management. She leads a number of research grants and actively published in various referred index journals internationally. Previously, she was a global supply chain quality consultant, as well as a quality department manager for more than 10 years with 2 multinational companies in Malaysia. It is our great privilege to have Professor Tan with us. Now, without taking much of your time, and before giving floor to Dr. Tan, may I request everyone to write down your questions in the chat box if you have any. After the workshop, we will pick your questions and our professor will answer your questions during the question answer session. Now I'm requesting Professor Tan to deliver her workshop. Please welcome Professor Dr. Tan Cheng Ling. Thank you.
thank you, Madam. Can you hear me?
Yes, madam.
All right, thanks for the nice introductions on my profile. Very good afternoon to the distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great pleasure and honor for me to deliver a workshop in this postgraduate research summit organized by Daffodil International University. And it is in fact co-hosted by Graduate School of Business at University Science Malaysia. Let me express my most sincere thanks to the organizing committee for inviting me to deliver the workshop for this grand occasions. Okay, so this is my profile. It is already well covered by the introductions by Madam Tanzina. Just a little bit, anyone interested to know my research more, then you can jot down this research ID and you can download my publication and articles from this link. Right? Okay, just a little bit on the housekeeping guideline. Can I request to mute unless you want to speak because I hear some background noise? All right. Is it someone? Unmute.
Could you please switch off your microphone, everyone, please?
All right. Okay. So just a little reminder on that. Actually, we try to avoid the distractions to the audience. Okay, and be present all the time. And also, if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask me at the end or on the go. You can utilize the chat room for Q&A sessions later on. Yep.
Nusrat Jahan, one of our attendees, would you please switch off your microphone?
All right. Okay, thank you. Okay, in these sessions, I will start with the general problems that most of the students have in their thesis from my perspective as a supervisor and examiner. So I will then link the understanding of the problems and symptoms when most of the students write in their thesis. Next, I will discuss the key steps that should involve in the initial research process when defining the problem and how to start, as well as further to formulating the final statement. Okay, and some example will be shared along with the brainstorming exercise. And lastly, the session will be concluded with key takeaway message. All right, I hope this is fine for 1.5 hour sessions. Okay, you can see this is a general outline for the first chapter in a PhD thesis in most of the higher educational institutions. Okay, so this chapter usually is the most important chapter that provide an introductory paragraph and to let the reader actually able to turn on about the subject matter. So it set the stage for the thesis in order to put the research topic in the perspective, and also to let you be able to connect, all the sections more smoothly. All right. So this workshop actually will be particularly focused on one section only, which is problem statement, and that will be indicate the issue that should be resolved in the research. All right. So of my many years experience as a supervisor and examiner in various theses that I have reviewed, I can summarize there are 4 general problems that usually I found in the student thesis. Okay, so the first one, most of the student, I would say that 90% of the student, they fail to state the problem clearly and precisely. And this has given the hard time for the reader or examiner to search for the problems or looking for the problem in the write-up. Okay, so secondly, some of the students even fail to problematize the issue for the study when the reader couldn't find any specific issue that worth to research. So here are some common findings in such situation. For example, the student merely explained the motivation of the study. And also some students emphasize the need to study the relationship of identified variables. However, there's no discussion to describe the idealistic condition and what is the problem actually has restricted the success of the situations, from the ideal situations. So thirdly, basically, you can see the student has written too many issues. They highlight too many issues without proper connections made to the problem statement. And it will actually leading the problem statement lack of focus. So usually in this case, the student will fail to understand the real problem and possible leading them to mix the non-relevant or little related issue in the context. So this is also very troublesome when a student not able to understand the problem well and they start writing these sections. And lastly, the problem always happens to certain students who have the perception that writing more is better, especially in the Asia context. I noticed that the student will write up to 5 pages or 10 pages for this particular problem statement. And this could make the problem statement too lengthy and long-winded. And the idea basically for the length in this session is 2 to 3 pages only. All right, so try not to write many things where you actually divert the attentions to the real problem that you should discuss. All right, so this is general problems that I noticed in most of the student thesis. Okay, all right, I try to let you understand why this happened. All right, so in research, it is very important that the symptoms are not defined as a real problem. Okay, let me explain to you a live scenario. So, for example, you may suffer with sneezing, headache, fever, or sore throat. So, here the real problem may be caused by some viruses. Okay, so to be specific to know the real rooted problem, you may need to diagnose to find it out. And it may caused by flu virus or COVID-19 virus or other disease, or you may not know. So as a researcher, you should define the problem correctly and clearly so that you don't just merely discuss on the symptom. Okay, you can say that I'm having headache or fever, or you can see the organization may facing the high turnover rate, okay, or the sales volume dropping. But this is only the symptom. The real rooted problem, actually, you need to conduct some preliminary study to find it out so that you can well define the problem clearly in your research writing. All right, so this is just examples to let you understand the problem and the symptom are different. Okay, so let me move on to this. Okay, so to distinguish between the problem and symptom, the problem is defined as an interest of the issue where finding the right answer will help to improve the existing situations. Okay, while a symptom actually is to help you to identify a problem. So you can see the symptom And then the next step, actually, you are trying to define and finding out the problems. Okay, so to further define a problem statement in the research, so a problem statement must be a definite or clear expression statement on an area of concern of the condition needed to be improvement. So meaning say that you need to identify the area that most people concern and it required immediate improvement. All right, it's also a statement that highlighting the troubling questions exist in scholarly literature, in theory, or within the existing practices. Okay, so this is how we define the problem statement. So it needs to be a very clear area that you would like to study. Cannot be too general. All right, so if too general, it just stack at the stage of the symptoms, or you may not be actually leading to explaining the problem clearly. All right, so the real world problem can be streamlined to specific research problem. You can focus at 3 levels. So the first level, individual level. So this is mostly involve a study in the customer satisfaction issue, or maybe a customer satisfaction or consumer satisfaction on the product and service that they purchase or they consume. Okay, or it may be employee distractions at work issue due to cell phone, due to social media, or due to the internet browsing. So this is all issue at the individual level. So perhaps if your study relates some issue at the individual level, you may look from the individual perspective. All right, but there's another level which is called team level. It's very rare cases I saw students doing research at team level, but it is actually a problem that can be, happen in the a group of people. All right, it can be a virtual team project effectiveness. All right, so you want to explore and see what has been the factor actually causing the virtual team project ineffective. Or it can be involving a R&D team innovation, actually, it is not reaching the expectation of the company. All right, so this could be the issue reside at the team level. So we can do a study at the team level, or the organizational level of the problem, which is mainly relate directly to the organization, firms, and company. For example, some study would like to know the firm agility performance of the company, or organizational effectiveness, or the company KPI. All right, so organization level, where the issue will be broadly reside at the organization level and the firm level. Okay, so the introduction of work from home policy has created more problems than it has solved during pandemic periods. Okay, based on this sentence, on this statement, actually it is very nice stating the point of the research project. I'm trying to link back to the step required in identifying the real problems. Okay, so like for example, work from home policy, I believe that many companies has implemented since pandemic. All right, but there are some argument that this policy actually create many issues on the employee. All right, but this is a nice starting point. All right, you find out this is a general problem maybe facing by most of the organization, but what is actually the specific issue that related to that broad problems? Okay, so we define the problems, then we need to have some skill to well define the problem more clearly. All right, so before we can define this problem, actually we need to transform the broad problem into a feasible topics for research. For example, you need to making the problem more specific and precise, and setting the clear boundary, where is the place that you want to start with. And finally, you select the perspective from which we can investigate the subject. All right, this is very important. And the broad management problem, once has been identified through the observation, like the step 1 observations, we can then transform this problem into a feasible research topics. Then you can start doing a literature search or conduct the preliminary data gathering through interview. All right, so this is a step that you cannot skip. I noticed that some students, they may want to, straight writing the problem statement without going through a proper step. All right, so the broad problem you have, but you need to put the effort to do a preliminary data gathering. So this part actually is very important. All right, from the information that you obtain, you can use it to identify the problem later on. Okay, so I will explain each step of this initial process in more detail in my following slide. Okay, so in step 1 observations, normally, okay, before you start your PhD or research journey, the broad problem interest area usually coming from your observations. Okay, so this observation may come from your own personal practical experience in the field, or as well as from your previous work on the subject, or your own curiosity or own great mind. Beside this, it may be coming from the critical study of the literature search or introductions of the new technology that you observe, as well as the interaction with other community. For example, you attended seminars, you attended a conference or the colloquium, that you gather some of the idea from the scholar discussions. So this could be a place where you find the broad problems. Okay, so the first step is usually is coming from the real world, and you may be dealing with your own experience. Then you can see the problem happen in certain area. Okay, so some examples, I gave you a broad problem example so that you can have a better understanding on that. Like, for example, training program are perhaps not as effective as anticipated. All right, so this could be the things that after you attended the programs, and you may observe that the training program is not effective. All right, or the company may having the sales volume of the product is not picking up for a certain period of time that you observe. All right, it could be a broad problem. Or it can be a newly installed information system is not being used by the manager for whom it was primarily designed. So you may design some of the good system, but it is not fully utilized. All right, so this could be a problem, a general problem. Or inventory control is not effective. This is where you understand from the relevant departments. Or it may be an issue related to management of a complex and multi-department team project is getting out of the hand in the R&D department of the firm. So based on the general problem, actually, this is a place where you can start with the preliminary study to find out more information to define the problem more precisely. All right, so from observation, this could be a general problem that you observe. Okay, so the problem could be narrowed down to a specific issue for investigation after some preliminary data are gathered by the researcher. Okay, so don't miss this step. I noticed that many people miss the step. They just stop at the broad problem and they start writing the chapter 1 in the problem statement. They describe all the general problems. Okay, that could lead to the issue that I discussed in my first slide, the 4 main common issues that we notice. You can't write a very good problem statement because of the problem is too general, or you may just stop at the symptom level. All right, it's not really go into the problem. So we need a step which is called preliminary data gathering step. So I explained this step can be involving gathering data from 2 types of data. The first type, secondary data. So secondary data, it can be a data gathering through existing source available in the published documents from website, the policy, statistical bulletin, government publications, information published or unpublished and available from either within, outside the organizations. So all the data available from previous research, case study and library record, or online data. Okay, so it can be in the form of the secondary data. So you need to explore and gathering the data to understand the broad problem better. All right, so from this stage, actually some other primary data you also can explore. All right, for example, the data gathered from the actual site of occurrence of the events. You may go to visit the site and through the interview, gathering the informations. Okay, or you can administering the questionnaire to the individuals that you would like to collect the data in the preliminary stage. All right. So these are a few methods that you can use when the time you start with the preliminary data gathering. All right. So this is very important because that it will help the researcher to find out the questions. For example, commonly you'll be asked, what is the problem by your examiner at the end? All right. Why does the problem occur? And is the problem very important? And what are the benefits of solving the problem? So you have to get yourself ready. You must be able to answer these 4 important questions. All right. So if you're able to answer this, then your problem statement is quite, I would say that quite confident that you can really debate it into your research. All right. So this is examples of interviewing. So during the preliminary data gathering, if you are interviewing the relevant people involved in that particular issue, okay, I think someone need to mute your mic. Okay, thank you. So through interviewing, it will help to attack the real issue rather than you work on the surface symptoms. So this is what we are trying to avoid. Target the wrong things. We target the symptom and not targeting the real problems. Okay, example 1 actually is trying to let you understand how to distinguish, the actual problems and the symptom. All right. So for example, not all employees excited with the employee stock ownership plan. Okay, some company, they may have this ESOP, all right, to the employee. So the interview outcome may reveal that employees perceive ESOP as a tool to save the tax, and there's no true opportunity for employee involvement. Okay, so even though you are giving them the stock options, but they don't have, the involvement. So they just treat it as just for the tax exemptions and to save the tax money for the company perspective. And to understand this scenario actually will help you to tackle the real issue, actually the concern and the fear, rather than the symptom, making the change in the package to be more attractive. So this is what we're trying to solve the real issue. If you don't understand, you just think that, maybe employee is not happy with the stock options that given, then you go and modify the package. But to them, actually, this is not a real issue. All right. So through the interview is helping you to understand the real issue rather than we just stop at the symptom level. Okay. And the second example is trying to show you that this is also very common happen. For example, a high inventory and production costs faced by the company or manufacturing company. So based on the interview outcome, it may illustrate that the type of machinery used in production process incurred high costs. So this is a real problem because of the aging of the machine. That's why it will be very costly when running the productions. Rather than without, just in time, you may suggesting, we are having the high inventory and production costs because we are not implementing just in time. This is too general, and it's only a symptom that reveals that the high inventory and production costs, but it doesn't reveal the actual problem causes actually is rooted from the aging of the machine. All right, so you may targeting the wrong problems in the sense that you are solving the symptom and not solving the problems. All right. May I just request someone to mute the mic?
Yeah, host can mute all the attendees except the professor.
Madam, can you do that? You just mute all of them.
Professor Jan, please mute yourself. Rakhi Monishaha, please mute yourself.
Host can unmute everyone. Mute everyone.
Host, okay. Maybe madam. Yeah. All right. I think now it's better. All right. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So so let me continue further on this second step in the preliminary data gathering. It's still a very important phase in the early stage, the initial stage of your research process, where conducting the literature survey or literature search, literature review, it will help you to further focus on the certain aspect found to be important in the published study. So this reteacher search cannot be skipped during the preliminary data gathering. So why I'm saying so? You can look at here, I have listed down a good reteacher search. It will help you to ensure that the important variables that are likely to influence the problem situation are not left out of the study. So if not doing a reteacher search, you do not know the knowledge boundary, all right? Where has a study been explored in this area? You need to know the progress of the study has been done in the similar area. Maybe you find out this problem, other scholar and other researcher also already start investigating the problem. So this is the one that you can refer to other study to find out that there will be some potential variable may be left out. So you can be included in your study. And it also a clear idea emerged as to what variable would be most important to consider. Through the reteacher search, sometimes you can find out that the study has already revealed certain variable is not effective to influence that situations. So you may use that as a reference to consider when the time you want to include this variable into your study. All right. And also the problem statement can be made with precision and more clarity by doing reteacher search. And testable of the findings of the current research are enhanced, able to enhance further, or one does not run the risk of trying to rediscover something that is already known. So sometimes you may replicate other people's studies. So some study already been studied, but you also involved in the similar study. So this is a replicated study. So by doing reteacher search will help you to understand the research boundary, and also, you know, the research that has been done previously, where you try to avoid to touch on the same or similar area that you want to study. All right. And the problem investigated is perceived by the scientific committee as relevant and significant. So this is very important. So you need to have a reteacher search to be able to justify the originality of your research. Is it something which is new knowledge that can give an interest to the academicians and also to the practitioner? All right. So these are the important things that you need to do a good reteacher survey in the very beginning. Okay. So problem definition. So we come to the third stage. So after you gathering the preliminary information, the researcher is in a position to narrow down the problem from its original broad-based and defined issue more clearly. So as I explained earlier, it is critical that the problem statement is a clear, precise, and concise statement of the question issue that is to be investigated with the goal of finding the answer or solutions. All right. So the third step actually is helping us to define the problems much more clearly. So I think this is some example of the well-defined problems that are also included in my latest slide. So maybe you just have a look on that. The empirical study on expansion of international operation that result in an enhancement of the firm image and value. All right. So this is a well-defined problems that you already set the boundary where you are going to study. All right. So it's an empirical study that you're trying to look at the expansion of the international operations that result on the enhancement of the firm image and value. I guess that the broad problem may be arising because of the firm's image and value. All right. By doing a preliminary study and you gather more information, then you find out that a study is needed to explore or to examine the expansion of the international operation that could help to enhance the firm image and value. All right. And the other one that it can be in the question marks, that to what extent has the social media advertising been successful in creating high quality customer-centered image that it was intended to produce? All right. If you want to do something, research that to understand how the social media advertising can create a high value, high quality and customer-centered image that it intended to produce. So the third one actually also giving a form of a very well-defined problems that you want to look at the type of information system installed, account for the variance in the perceived effectiveness of the managerial decisions. All right, so these are the well-defined problems where you already set a boundary and a very specific and precisely describe the real problems. Okay, so here's a scenario in a company where it faced the high employee turnover rate, even with the wage increase, but still has little success. Okay, so in this scenario, I guess that most of the students, they will come to the conclusion that they want to study high turnover rate. Okay, but is this a real problems? My question is, if you look at this scenario, a high employee turnover, even though the company has taken some initial actions to increase the wage, but the success is very little. All right, so this is not a well-defined problem yet at this phase. So perhaps the next step, you can use a 5 why analysis to find out the deep root problems. Okay, so let me show you. Like for example, if you can do a preliminary interview to ask around, the company. So why the best employee are leaving? Okay, so the first why answer, because they are not satisfied with their job. Okay, this could be the answer that given to you. But why? Why not satisfied with their job? Because they do not find a challenge in their job. This is a second why and the second answer that you get. And the further why asks why you can't find a challenge in the job, but they do not have the control over the job. Okay, so the answer can give to you that because they don't have the control on the job, just a follower, they just listen, they don't even have a chance to participate. All right, so this is the fourth why that you get more information that they don't have a lot of influence over the planning, they don't have the much involvement in executing the plan, and they are not evaluating the work that they do. So these are the things actually giving a more clearer pictures when you further asking the why. And the last why you can get, because we have been reluctant to delegate. So this is the things that why employees are leaving. It's not because of the wages, it's not because of the salary. Partly and mainly the deep root problem here that you can conclude by asking the why is the employee motivation problems. They don't have a motivation to do a work, because of all this scenario. Actually, this is a real problems, employee motivation problems, and not high turnover rate. So high turnover rate is just a symptom in this case, while the deep root problem actually is the low motivations of the employee. So what you want to study over here, or you want to research in this context, actually, you want to study how to improve the employee motivations, and not to target at the symptoms, how to improve the high turnover rate. Okay, so this is, I'm trying to get a best picture on how to define the real problems, and don't just stop at the symptom. Okay, so you need to do some little preliminary study in gathering more concrete information to justify and define the problem. Okay, how to start? All right, so how to start with this? Actually, the introductions on the research problems, you need to state clearly. This is expectations. You need to state clearly and concisely. The general feelings about one specific issue under the study, and what is the symptom. Try to understand the symptom also. It's not trying to avoid the symptoms. Try to understand the symptom to distinguish whether it's a symptom or problem, like what I discussed with you earlier. All right, so whether you want to know it's a symptom or problems, you need to go further down. You can use 5 why analysis to go in depth and asking more information from the employee involved. All right, and it is exists, therefore the problem may exist. You use the symptom for you to guide you to identify the problems. Okay, so this is some of the guideline, and the symptoms are actually changes in the level of some key monitor that measure the achievement of the objective. So for example, the symptom could be, you can see from declining sales are falling short, so these are the symptoms. And declining renewal of annual membership, these are the symptoms, not problems yet. So declining profits, declining share market is low, brand image is downy, customer satisfaction is low, losing loan opportunity to competitors, declining patented products. So these all are symptoms. Okay, it's just a symptom, and it could be a very broad problems, you know, in the sense that you just know that it's a symptom. All right, and the preliminary study actually is needed to further drill down to understand why declining sales. Okay, so you may use a 5 why analysis to gather the information through the interview to the relevant people. Okay, so in the background of the study, in any thesis or in any research work, all right, so the background of the study actually, why it is important to highlight the issue, you need to write out the broad problems clearly and the context that may involve in this study. Okay, so this is what we expect in the background of the study. And to portray the importance of the phenomenon of the interest, then you have to really go in depth and write it out. So finding more information to write out your symptoms and generally describing the symptoms as causing to the context of the study. And from there, actually, you can describe the needs of the study required you to do a research. All right, and then it leads to the problem statement, trying to define it clearly. What is the boundary of the knowledge that you want to focus in the study? So generally, this section required information. So I would say that you need to have statistical information to support. It will involve the secondary published data, statement or gaps in the previous study, or concern by somebody. For example, you are going to interview, you know, some of the professionals, industry, or gathering the information from the government's entity. All right. So these are the background study that you can gather the information more broadly, in the sense that you describe the symptoms, bring out your general problems, and later on support with the statistical information. So this is needed in the background of the study. Okay, so formulating a final statement of the research problems. This is a step where you need to write out, you know, the very important sections to bring the significance, whether the study is significant, researchability, whether it's feasible. Then finally formulate the statement of the research problems. So the question will include, will the result advance the knowledge? All right, so if the result doesn't advance the knowledge, then you don't have to do the study. You can just go and refer to the previous and past literature, then you can find the answer and solutions. So whether the result advance the knowledge, the current knowledge, you ask yourself, all right, and will the research have some value to the academic, some value can bring to the practical context, all right? And will the result be of the interest to most of the people? You don't do something that where just to satisfy your own self, but people won't use your findings. People don't interested, you know, in your study. So this is also very important in the sense that at the PhD level, usually through the conference colloquium that you're presenting your idea, or you're presenting your conceptual model and the framework, actually it will be helping you to gather more feedback and information to strengthen your problem statement. Okay, so before you can finalizing the statement of the problems, try to presenting out, you know, to the scholarly, to the conference, to the colloquiums, to gather some of the feedback and idea to strengthen your problem. Okay, so in finalizing the problem statement, actually it could be in two types of format. All right, the first one actually is declarative forms, and the other one is the interrogative format. So there are two types of format to write the statement of the problems. So some examples here, like declarative formats. A research problem is stated in the declarative statement. You means that this is just a statement. For example, a descriptive study on prevalence of Big Shaw among unconscious patients admitted in ICU of General Hospital in Malaysia. So this clearly stated the problems that you want to study, all right? And you know, the context and the area that you want to carry out study. Okay, so it's a statement which is very clear to spell out that it's a descriptive study, and you would like to look into the prevalence of the bed sore among the unconscious patients admitted to the ICU of General Hospital in Malaysia. All right, so it's already set, you know, a very clear problems that you want to research. And the second one is an exploratory study on contributing factor of maternal mortality in the selected rural communities of district Chennai, India. So this is also very clear to spell out that the boundary of the study, where you want to look at the factors contributing to the maternal mortality, but you just focus on the selected rural community. We know that rural communities, they are lacking of nutrients, or maybe these are the places where it's very difficult to get a medical support. So you choose that area because of the needs and because of the problem arising at that particular rural communities, and focus on the district Chennai in India. All right, so this is one of the declarative formats. And the third one actually is the one that I shared with you earlier on, is empirical study on the expansion of the international operation that result in an enhancement of the firm image and value. Okay, so perhaps this is also explaining, you know, the declarative format of the problem statement, research problems. Okay, so the other types, interrogative formats. So in this format, a research problem is usually stated in question form. As a question form, for example, you can put the tone in that way that what is the influence level of celebrities endorser among Generation Y towards sport apparel in Malaysia? All right, so this is in the question form, all right, but it's stated clearly that you would like to study something that related to the influence level of the celebrity endorser among the Generation Y towards the sport apparel in Malaysia. Okay, so it's a very a short statement, but it comprises all the information. So this is what we need to train out the student able to write it out, you know, very clear statement. And the second one actually is what is the effect of social media on young kids in Malaysia? Although it's very simple and a general statement, but it's already covered the context that you want to study. All right. And to what extent has the social media advertising been successful in creating the high quality customer-centered image? So this is also, you know, a statement that I shared early on. It's already well defined the problems clearly that you would like to study something, you know, how social media advertising successfully creating high quality customer-centered image. All right. So these are the important variable you already included in the statement. And lastly, to what extent the type of information system. So this is what I explained. You want to know the types of information system installed that will influence the perceive of the effectiveness of the managerial decision making. So how this system influence the managerial decision making. All right. So interrogative format actually is in the form of question mark. It's also acceptable. All right, acceptable. So there are two forms of writing your research problems. Okay, so you can use it as a reference. Okay, so some other examples like low. This is I would like to tell you that this is broad problems. Okay, the broad problems like low business intelligence adoptions among Malaysia's small-scale manufacturing firms. So this could be a very broad problems that you know that in this digital era, if the small-scale manufacturing firm still doesn't know, or doesn't very slow in responding to the new technology, that could be a problem for their future. But then it's a broad problem and not specific yet at this stage. So this example is showing that most of the time we notice that the problems coming from a broad perspective, but we need to fine-tuning for further to understand the specific issue actually lies behind these broad problems. So low business intelligence adoption among Malaysia's small-scale manufacturing, it could be due to that they don't have the financial support and technological insufficiency, for them to do that. All right, but you need to carry out preliminary study to gather the information, to understand the context in the small scale manufacturing. Then you only can write it out clearly, the problem specifically into the area. All right, I'm giving examples here. And the second one, high turnover rate among the healthcare professional in private healthcare institutions. Perhaps this could be just a general statement that you notice it will happen in the private healthcare institutions on the high turnover rate among the healthcare professionals. But you need to know that what is the real problem lies behind. It could be due to the hospital policy. They may have a biasness in the hospital policy that could be leading to the high turnover rate among these healthcare professionals, or they don't have a potential, like maybe could be due to the motivations problems or issue. All right, so on all this statement, actually it revealed that you need to conduct a further preliminary study to understand the real specific issue. Okay, and third one actually is also a general statement, job dissatisfaction among the nurse in public hospital. So you may not understand whether job dissatisfaction is happen in the nurse, or it could be due to some other, this could be a symptom, but it could be due to other rooted problems among the nurse in the public hospital. All right, and another examples, the increased job burnout among academic staff in research university. I guess that this is the issue that happened to mainly in most of the university worldwide. Especially, I think lately we do have a feeling that job burnout actually is quite intensively increased among the academic staff. All right, so this is an issue where I would say that the community is giving a very less focus on that, but sadly to say, this is a real scenario happen, the job burnout. It can be contributing because of the competitions in the ranking. I think most of the university would like to fight for a ranking, and this ranking actually they will be using for them to portray their positions in the international eye. All right, so KPI, it become a very a heavy burden to the university, and once they delegated to the academic staff and everyone have to work it out. All right, so if the KPI is a very specific centric, so maybe I can talk this more on this topic because I'm from this line, so I know that a KPI is given to everyone the same. All right, we know that we teach, we supervise, and we do research, and we also need to publish. All right, so these are the process that the activity involved by individual. Okay, it's an individual KPI. It's not a firm or a company department's KPI. So everyone is giving the same set of the KPI, and you have to meet all the basket. So this is a very ridiculous. I think that in most of the well-established organization, they are trying to divided the strength, that if you have the strength in academic, you just teach, but the teaching loading will be higher than others, but they don't disturb on the publications KPI. All right, and in the research university, perhaps you may have a 70% of the researchers, they just focus on research while they have less teaching hour in their lecturing job. All right, so I think this will be very fairly distributed, and you use the strength of the people to work out the big KPI. I think that will be much more effective rather than you are forcing those who are not really expert in this area, push them to come out the same output as the professional. So this is what I would say that is a very serious problems, and we are getting a very less attention from the eye of the community, and people just look at ranking. I think when the ranking news announced, the QS ranking news announced, so people trying to find their position, their rank, what is a rank, is it this university rank higher than this university? So this is a competition among the university that created the I would say that the unfair KPI system towards the academic staff, especially those in research university. All right, and the lastly, actually, low operational performance in public healthcare institution. All right, so these are some issue. Maybe they don't have a proper, this low operation performance. It could be due to the insufficient of the technology supports in the public healthcare. You do see that, you know, even though the general public hospital, sometimes the coordinations is still in the manual basis. They are not using the I would say that, you know, the well interconnected system, but they are residing in one department to another. So you may face some issue like coordinating from one department to another is still a very manual basis. So they don't have a well integrated system to link all the data. All right. So the patient going to public healthcare, I guess that some of you have experience with that, you will know. All right. You go in one department, they may keep your record in that department, but it's very hard to link to other section or other departments. Then you have to bring the card, or you have to bring the books when the time you go and get a service at a public healthcare institution in Malaysia. I would say that this has happened in Malaysia. All right. So that could be due to the lacking of the integrated system in the public healthcare, causing the low operational performance. So low operation performance is just a symptom, but the real rooted problem actually is because of the insufficient technology advancement support in the public healthcare institutions. All right. So this is a things that where a researcher need to find it out more clearly before they can start writing a good problem statement. So I am giving all these examples. I hope that you able to understand well at this point what is a broad problem. A symptoms is a broad problems, and how to go into the detail to find out the specific problem, to write it out more precisely. Okay, so let me give you one brainstorming over here. So what is a problem statement in these situations? Okay, you can take a look on this. Maybe I can read it out for you. The manager of the Victoria company observed that the morale of the employee in his company is low. He thinks that if the working conditions, the incentive scheme, and vacation benefit of the employee are better, the morale. He doubts, okay, though that increasing the incentive is going to raise the morale of all employees, his guess is that those who have good side income will just not be turned on by higher incentive. However, those without side income will be happy with the increased incentive and their morale will improve. Okay, so based on this scenario, I guess that you know that what is the focus of the study would like to research. Okay, I believe everyone, you read this out and you try to tell me what is the main targeting problems that the research want to focus. You can type in the chat room, maybe I can just check. I do not see anyone respond to these questions. Okay, low morale of the employee. Yeah, low motivation of employee. All right. I do see a few feedbacks over here. Okay, so in this context, it's already described to you the morale of the employee in this company is low. Okay, it's low. So this is a general broad problems, but it's already spelled out that the working conditions, incentive scheme, vacation benefit, because it's the manager actually already conduct some preliminary gathering of the informations. All right, so these are the things that he gathered over here. Let me show you that, you know, with this type of conditions, you can know that the problem actually is dealing to the morale of the employee, all right, of the company. But he also gathering some of the information. It's very interesting information. You read the last fourth line. He gets that those have a good side income will just not to be turned on by high incentive. However, those without side income will be happy with the increased incentive and their morale will improve. So that means there are two groups of people, you know. Some people, they are working out, you know, side work outside. They're doing part-time job, so they may have the side income. So increase the incentive may not be helping them. But if those without side income, they will be very happy, all right, with the increased incentive. So this is another word that if he would like to study and forming a research framework in this context, he need to consider the two group of people. All right, so I will show you how I draw this out from the context, from the conceptual model. All right, so there will be model will helping you to understand better on this exercise. Let me show you. All right. Okay, so you can see that the thing is like, you know, they try to portray that, you know, they want to study something, how to improve the morale, all right, of the employee, because it's slow in this brainstorming. And with this, actually, he also find out that there are 3 factors can influence the morale, all right, working conditions, vacations benefits, and incentive. The manager has found out the 3 important factors that could lead to the increase the morale of the employees. But then the incentive part actually is the interesting part, where he has also noticed and gathering some information related to there are 2 group of people, side income and without side income. So if those with side income actually will be moderate, use a moderator is correct in this context, because there are 2 group of people. So if those with side income actually will increase the happiness, and that will be leading to better morale. All right, so side income playing a moderating role. Okay, with side income and without side income, without side income actually will increase the strength of this incentive towards happiness. But those with side income, this influence is less. You get my point? So that means there are 2 distinct group of testing under this moderator, with side income and without side income. Without side income actually has influenced better, strengthened the relationship of this. But if those with side income, actually they are not much, you know, can influence this relationship. All right, so these are the things that you can project out the entire context, what the study focus to the boundary that you want to look at the 3 aspects of the factors that can influence to increase the morale of the employee. All right, and between that, they also finding out that this is actually can be different if the group of people has side income and without side income. Okay, just a brief understanding about, you know, how to write it out, you know, entire concept of the research. Okay, let's look at this. Okay, the brainstorming 2. What is the problem statement in these situations? Perhaps that you can look at the problems. I'm not asking the problem statement to write out, you know, very clear problem statement, but try to be able to see how the study would like you to conceptualize. All right, so we look at this. The manager of the US Circuit International Company was worried with the high absenteeism among his engineer on Monday mornings. He thinks that engineers who consume excessive alcohol over the weekend experience hangover on Monday morning and will not come to work. He also feels that the high wages allowed the engineer to become lethargic. Okay, during his formal check with his engineer, he found out that all engineers in the factory consume alcohol in the weekends. Okay, so this is a preliminary gathering information. So he he spoke to the engineer, and he found out that all engineers in this factory actually consume alcohol in the weekend, right? And also some engineers told him that, you know, some will not experience hangover because they have high tolerance towards alcohol. All right, the manager say only those with a low level of alcohol tolerance will experience hangover, thus absent from work on Mondays. So besides the high wages could be another reason why this phenomenon happened. So can you see that based on this scenario, the manager has gathering the preliminary information to understand the entire problems. I think the problems that you want to solve here is very clear, is absenteeism. So absenteeism, I guess that the problem is very clear. but it based on the entire scenario. It's the challenges for you to try to conceptualize, you know, how the linkage between the scenario, the variables that you want to study, and put it in your concept model. All right. So absenteeism, if this is a high absenteeism, could be a main problems that this manager would like to solve. And he further conduct the preliminary study to gather the information through interview. So these are the information that he gathered. So if you are the researchers, you want to look at, you know, what is the model that you can conceptualize based on this entire scenario. So what do you want to write over here? I guess that the first thing that you want to find out that the potential factors and root cause, the potential factor that can influence to absenteeism. So may I know from your point, what are the main factors actually causing absenteeism in this context? There are two. Based on the reading, you can read one more time again, and you tell me what are the two main factors actually has contributing to the absenteeism. Anyone? Okay, I see some of the response, hangover and high wages. All right. Okay. Okay, there's various, okay, hangover and high wages. I think most of you. Okay, alcohol consumptions, high income, all right. Okay, low tolerance to alcohol and high wages, consumption of alcohol and high wages. Okay, all right. So, okay, so you can see high wages. Yes, I think most of you get it right. One of the factors is high wages contributing to the absenteeism. All right, but I guess that the second factors, and some of you may have the different answer. Some you say alcohol consumption, some of you say hangover. All right, and look at the responder over here. There are various answer for the second factors. All right, actually high wages, yes, contributing to absenteeism, but the second one actually is the one that with various conditions. If you notice clearly, because they mentioned about the high consumption of alcohol and causing hangover, and that also relate back to the tolerance to the alcohol. All right. So in this case, if anyone can tell me that excessive alcohol actually is the second factor, I would say that the second factor side will have more variables that can causing the influence towards the absenteeism. All right. So excessive alcohol is one of the factors, and in between, can you tell me that is there a mediator, intervening mediator variables that leading excessive alcohol to absenteeism? Anyone can tell me what is the mediating factors over here? There will be one mediating factors and one moderator. And try to look at the answer that you respond. The mediating variable is sitting in between the excessive alcohol and the absenteeism. Okay, excessive alcohol, I told you already, is one of the factors, same like high wages. Okay, so there will be one of the excessive alcohol can lead to what? That will be your mediating variables. It's not tolerance. Tolerance, yes, I guess that someone's telling me tolerance would be the moderator. Yes. Okay, I think you got it right. Tolerance is the moderator, but mediator, what is a mediator over here? All right, hangover is a mediator. Yes, correct. Okay, hangover is the mediator because excessive alcohol leading to the hangover and hangover leading to the absenteeism. So you see the linkage. You need to find the logic link on this context. All right. So excessive alcohol lead to hangover and hangover lead to absenteeism. All right. And in this case, the moderator is the tolerance. Okay. So where shall I place the tolerance? Alcohol tolerance should place in between excessive hangover or hangover to absenteeism. You need to place it correctly, right? The moderator. So the moderator actually influences the what are the two variables, excessive and hangover. All right, I think you are very good, all right, in this. Excessive alcohol lead to hangover, and the moderating effect actually is the tolerance, all right, alcohol tolerance. If they have the high alcohol, there are two groups of people also over here, you can look at it. One with the high tolerance alcohol, the other one with the low tolerance alcohol. So if those with the high tolerance alcohol, then they have the small effect to the excessive alcohol and the hangover, even though they drink a lot, but they won't easily get hangover. But if those with the low tolerance alcohol, that will be giving a more strength to the excessive alcohol to the hangover. All right, so I will show you the model will be drawing in this way. Yes, okay, so you can see a clear picture, by looking at this scenario, you can draw it out, what is the focus and how you define the variables that could be included in your research boundary. All right, so through the interview, through gathering information, this is what you find out, then you can draw out the very clear conceptual model. All right, so absenteeism is the problems, and these are the things, all right, high wages, excessive alcohol. But when you gather the information further, that will be helping you to define the problems more clearly. So if you don't conduct the interview or preliminary data gathering, you may not be able to find this out. Okay, you won't be able to find, actually there are two group people, tolerance, low tolerance and high tolerance. All right, so these are the things that actually it will be giving a very good problems definitions at the end of the day. Then you know the scope that where you want to focus. All right, so you can look from the literature review to find out more information about the variables and try to write it out, how to conceptualizing clearly in your write-out later on. Okay, so problems is a place where you need to define it clearly, and at the same time you also need to explore the potential causes and the factors that can lead to the problems, arising of the problems. Okay, so I guess that you have some knowledge on that. Huh? So then I will give you to the next slide. Actually, this is a takeaway, the final slide of mine. Actually, I want you to understand in writing the problem statement, it started from the general background and the general broad problems. Okay, so you need to understand the problem. It's not so difficult, but I noticed that 90% of the students, including my own students, I also found out that they don't be able to visualize the real problem statement. Okay, so the issue because of lacking of the step that I told you, preliminary data gathering. So many of them that they just stop at this level. General background and problem, they can tell very nicely in their introductory or problem statement. Very good. You can write a lot of information about your background of the study, but that is only stopped at the symptom level. All right, that I say that you can get the statistical data to support, the trend, how the trend look like, and this is the things that you want to focus. But when people asking about the statement of the problems, you don't give a very lengthy, some they even distracted to other places. They tell you the issue, the symptoms, and some not connected back to the general problem that they brought up. All right, so the problem statement is the only places where I see most of the students, they are not able to write very clear and precisely, describe it. That's also the things that, I would say the statement of the problem, it should be coming from the preliminary data gathering. You need to have that step before you can define the statement of the problems. And always remember to define a good problem statement involving preliminary data gathering, you need to do a literature search. Without literature search, you won't be able to find out the clear problem statement. And secondly, you need to do a preliminary interview to a group of people that may relate to this broad